The School of Public and Environmental Affairs, or SPEAR, at Indiana University boasts one of the very best public affairs programs in the United States. The school is implementing Vietnam Young Leader Awards, or VYLA, which is a full scholarship program supporting outstanding Vietnamese state employees and researchers in earning a master's or PhD in public affairs. The program is co-sponsored by Vietnam's Ministry of Education and Training and Indiana University in Bloomington. When the scholarships were inaugurated in 2010, it was the first time that Vietnam had taken part in a specific program to send young people to the US for training in public administration. The program includes coursework, research and internship opportunities, and field trips to government agencies, NGOs, and private organizations in Washington, D.C., New York, Boston, and other U.S. cities. VYLA offers annual scholarships to 15 talented state employees through a highly competitive selection process. Dozens of graduates from the program have returned to Vietnam and contributed to the improvement of the country's public administration system.
Thì cái chương trình này là bọn mình ấp ủ lâu rồi, bởi vì bọn mình dạy ở trường hàng đầu về chính sách công ở Mỹ. Mình cũng nghĩ làm sao mà lấy được sinh viên Việt Nam sang để đặc biệt là những người tương lai sẽ là lãnh đạo đất nước, những người mà hiện nay đang công tác ở các bộ ngành, những cái cán bộ nguồn giỏi. Thì là cùng mình bàn với cả anh Vang ở bên Bộ Giáo dục, cùng với cả các anh chị ở Bộ Tài chính để có cùng hình thành ra được cái chương trình này.
Hello and welcome to Sharing Vietnam. The United States and Vietnam have been fostering comprehensive cooperation in many areas, including public administration. And in our program today, we will have a conversation with Dr. David Reingold, the head of the School for Public and Environmental Administration in Indiana University of the United States. He will talk about cooperation programs between the school and Vietnamese authorities to raise the capacity of government officials in Vietnam. So, good afternoon, Dr. Reingold. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. So, your school is ranked among the best, if not the best, school for public administration, not only in the United States, but also in the world. So, could you share some elements for success of your school?
You know, I think that the reason why SPEAR has been so successful is it has been able to create an environment where it really does embrace faculty from many different parts of the academy. So, you know, we have economists, political scientists, sociologists, faculty trained in public administration, faculty trained in public policy. We have faculty trained in the natural sciences and chemistry and biology and engineering. And it's very rare that universities generally are not organized that way. I think we're also larger than any other public policy, public administration school at least in the United States. I'm not sure about the world. And so that scale means that, you know, we have not just one expert in a particular area, but we have a whole team of experts in a particular area. And so for a student, that means that, you know, they're not only just going to learn from one person in a particular area, but they'll learn from many people. And that gives them a much broader horizon.
Could you share some information on the current cooperation programs between your school and the Vietnamese authorities?
You know, it all started when we hired and were able to recruit Professor Anh Tran to SPEAR. And one of the things that Anh wanted to do, Professor Tran wanted to do, was to work on establishing some efforts to strengthen governmental institutions and the opportunities for bright, promising Vietnamese to come and hone their skills and their background in government. And so when I hired him, one of the commitments I had to make to him was that we would do that. And so 5 years later, here we are. We've been the recipient and host to over 30 government officials and other Vietnamese students who have come for our 2-year Master's in Public Affairs Administration degree. Those students have been supported generously with funding from the Ministry of Education and Training and Dr. Vang, who's been an absolute champion. And those students now are graduates and are back in a variety of interesting positions, both in the government and in the private sector and parts of the media and elsewhere. And I'm confident that over time, as those individuals continue to develop in their professional life, that they will make an impact in Vietnam. And a strong, vibrant, independent Vietnam is, I think, in everybody's interests, and we think that this program in particular can play a role in helping to make that the case.
Yeah. So what are some specific activities of the cooperation programs in order to achieve the goal?
Well, so we have this piece where we're creating opportunities for students to come and study and get their graduate training here in public administration and government. In addition, we've been partnering with several universities to work with them on joint research programs, as well as some curriculum development to sort of update and integrate some of the things we've learned here over the past 42 years that this school has been in existence into the educational programs at various universities in Vietnam. In addition, we have also been working with the National Academy of Public Administration in Vietnam to sort of, again, help them work on updating some of the materials that they use to train government officials and prepare government officials in Vietnam. And we've also been working with parts of the National Assembly. In our last trip in May, we met with the chair of the Budget Committee and many of his staff, and we're beginning discussions about ways in which we might be able to bring some of our expertise and some of the expertise from the students that we have been preparing to help shape some of the analysis and thinking around national economic and government priorities that come out of the National Assembly.
At the end of May 2014, a delegation from Indiana University made a working visit to Vietnam. The delegation included IU President Michael McRobbie, SPEAR Executive Associate Dean David Reingold, and Professor Ngọc Anh, among others. They attended various meetings with leaders of the Vietnam National University, the National Assembly, and the National Academy of Public Administration. Leaders of the local organizations expressed their enthusiasm and willingness for faculty, staff, and student exchanges between their organizations and IU. They also look forward to expanding upon existing collaborative efforts, including the Vietnam Young Leader Awards program. Meanwhile, representatives of IU pledged the university's continued participation in the program and support for Vietnam's International Education Department under the Ministry of Education and Training.
Về đối tượng thì bọn mình muốn nhằm đến những cái người mà thứ nhất là có khả năng. Bởi vì học bên này nó là một cái trường thứ hạng cao, cái đòi hỏi nó rất là nếu mà mình không chuẩn bị tốt thì sang đấy không học được. Cái thứ hai là mình muốn tìm những cái người mà có cái tâm huyết đối với đất nước. Đấy, thì những cái người mà hiện nay là những cái cán bộ mà có năng lực, mà quyết tâm để làm những cái đổi mới cho trong ngành của mình, ở trong cái lĩnh vực của mình, thì bọn mình hướng đến những cái người như vậy.
And Dr. Reingold, I know that you have been to Vietnam a couple of times, and could you share with us some experience from those visits?
Most of my time there is going from one meeting to another after another, and working with prospective students and our funders and other potential partners. I have to say you know, the people of Vietnam, whenever I'm there, are incredibly gracious, very, very warm and welcoming. My colleague, Professor Tron, has opened up his home to me, and so I actually have gotten a chance to sort of spend some time, you know, outside of the big hotels and sort of get a feel for a little bit more what sort of life is like in Hanoi. And you know, I have to say that you know, Hanoi in particular and Ho Chi Minh. I have not been to the middle of the country. I hope to go sometime soon. But you know, Hanoi is just a beautiful city. I mean, you know, the lakes and the sort of the trees. I mean, it's really quite. I don't think people quite realize just how beautiful and precious it is. And then obviously, you know, in Ho Chi Minh City. I mean, you know, it has, you know, it feels very much, I think Americans would say it feels a little bit like Florida.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, it's sort of beach kind of culture and the like, a little bit more laid back. And but you know, I'm always mindful that you know, to be very careful about crossing the streets with the motor scooters and the rest of it. But I really enjoy my time, and you know, and I'm a big fan, so I enjoy going.
And apart from the work here, I know that you're also engaged in efforts in order to connect education and national services in the United States for, you know, better living standards for the people. Could you share with us some information on those efforts?
I had a rare opportunity about 12 years ago to be a senior executive at a U.S. federal agency that's responsible for all of our national service programming. It's a little bit like it's our version of the Domestic Peace Corps.
Okay.
And I've always thought that those efforts should be more firmly integrated into universities, and the role that universities play in trying to advance aspects of citizenship. So when I came back to my university role, after serving in the government, I've always been looking for ways to bring together what I think are reinforcing institutions, and so we have been able to host a fellows program that you know, provides our students an opportunity to go out into the world to work for a governmental organization, an NGO, and to help develop and advance some of the goals and missions of those organizations at a very high sort of strategic level. Almost every country around the world has some version of national service. It takes many different forms, but very frequently these efforts are not very well integrated with the educational experience of higher education. And you know, I think higher education, whether it's in the United States or Vietnam or elsewhere, really does very much have a part of developing people into good citizens. And what does that mean, and how do you do it? And I think that partnering and developing programming through national services is one way to do that.
Okay. Dr. Rai Gold, thank you so much for spending your time with us today, and I hope that your school and Vietnam will have further fruitful cooperation in the future. Well, that's all for our Sharing Vietnam today. Hopefully, the cooperation between the Vietnamese authorities and Indiana University, the United States, and many international partners will further grow in order to boost the public administration capacity of Vietnam to facilitate the sustainable development of the country. Thank you for watching, and see you again next time.